Hi everybody, welcome to the Early Days podcast. This is the show about the hustle, the excitement, the grind, the ups and downs of building a business from scratch. Marine here.
You've memorized it well. And
Julian, yeah, say your name. Great episode right now with Matt Ellis from the Honcho agency. He's our guest today. Got to know Matt through Twitter, reached out to him and got him on the show just like that. We've had some very interesting and nice conversation. I think
fellow developer,
and a Treehouse student.
Yeah, Treehouse.
And that's not paid, by the way. But we talked a lot about the process of building an agency because he shared his story, how he started. And so this episode is very rich on resources.
Tools,
resources. Yeah. Something to add?
Just a nice conversation about someone building a small business.
And a
remote business. We respect that a lot. Anyone out there building an agency or really any business, I guess. Just a nice walkthrough from beginning to a stable stage.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Make sure you watch this or listen this episode. All the links, resources and tools are in the show notes, so make sure you check them out on our website, wheredulo.com/podcast. Also make sure you follow us everywhere. Subscribe to the podcast as well, or the channels where you see this, so you don't miss out on all the goodies.
Yep.
This is turning out to be a very strong season. So Matt, thanks for joining, for being on the show. Could you give us a quick intro about you and what you're doing?
Okay, my name is Matt Ellis. I am just 40 years old. I run a design agency called Honcho. We are primarily web design and development. I've been doing this, been developing and designing for 20 years, I guess. Currently, there's 3 of us in the team. We scale up with freelancers occasionally, plans to grow more. That's about it, I think, as a high-level overview.
How did you decide to go into web development? So many years ago, like it was a totally different world compared to now.
Yeah. So I had a fairly normal upbringing. A sister, mum and dad went to school, and maybe when I was 17 or 18, I was diagnosed as being dyslexic, which at the time was it was a bit of a relief. I think I always felt there was something not quite right, but I didn't really understand what dyslexia was. And I think from the back of that dictated quite a few of my decisions in life, and that kind of probably pushed me towards the creative industries and art. And I ended up doing going to university and doing a fine art degree, where I majored in painting. But that whole degree experience kind of put me off the fine art world. It was so pretentious, and I was just quite uncomfortable with the whole art world, I guess. So I came out of university and started to be a painter and decorator. So still kind of using my art, but in a very, very different way. And then from painting and decorating, I just got really bored doing painting and decorating. I knew that's not what I didn't want to be doing in life. Always played in a lot of bands, always been really into music, and been involved in like logo design and flyer design for bands. And that side of what I was doing kind of naturally grew. I was doing it for the bands I was in, and then other bands that we knew would ask me to do it, and then that sort of expanded into photography slightly. And then I guess it kind of ramped up, and that's when I started to feel that designing flyers and logos for bands was what I was good at, and I really enjoyed the visual aspect of it, and I really enjoyed, the musical aspect of it. Got a loan off my dad and bought a Mac. I still owe him for that. And then from the photography that I was doing, I took some pictures of a band who were local at the time, and they ended up getting signed by someone called Guy Chambers, who is a singer. He used to be in a band called, I should know this, Lemon Trees, I think. Oh no, I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Anyway, he now writes. He wrote like all Robbie Williams hits, so like Angels and Let Me Entertain You and all that stuff. And he saw the photos that I'd done for this local band, and he really liked them, and asked me to come to his Christmas party to photograph and document the Christmas party. While I was there, we sort of got introduced, and then he invited me to come and talk about his own website and marketing and logos and stuff. And at the time, I wasn't really doing web stuff too much. I sort of dabbled in it. You know, Flash was really prominent back then, but I didn't really know what I was doing. But I remember being sat at a table with him and his manager, and the website conversation came up, and I just remember thinking, right, this is an opportunity here. So I just said, I could do it for you, you know. And at the time, I didn't really know how to build a proper Flash website, but I knew it was possible. And since then, I remember seeing a quote by Richard Branson saying something like, even if you don't know how to do something, you should say yes and work out how to do it later. So that's quite nice. I wish I'd have known that back then, but I didn't. And so anyway, I went away. This was kind of pre-Treehouse, so you know, it was kind of going on forums and working out how to do stuff. And at the end of it, came up with this a website that I was really proud of. Guy and the team were really pleased with it. It stayed online for quite a long time. And off the back of that, more and more opportunities arose in the music industry. Ended up working with some X Factor winners, some X Factor losers. A guy called Damien Dempsey, Feeder. I can't remember, probably some others. And it was around that point that it was really picking up that I kind of thought, right, I've got to really learn how to do this properly. So took time out, and I think actually I did use Treehouse a lot when it first started, and I think probably maybe around the same time that signed up to Treehouse, went through like later their course and started to learn how to do it properly. And that was, so that was kind of the start of the journey. Was very much by chance and saying yes to things that I didn't really know how to do, which may be true of a lot of entrepreneurs. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of overlap. Funny that you mentioned Treehouse. It's the platform. Both of us, we're developers actually by day.
Oh, you didn't know about that? I thought.
Well, maybe I mentioned it, but it's really funny because we took Treehouse, and that's how we actually stumbled into development. And as you said, figured things out along the way, and faked it till we make it at one point. Yeah. I still don't consider myself a really developer because you have the imposter syndrome from time to time. But after I think now more than 5 years, it's pretty. We've got some kind of a foundation for that.
Good.
Yeah. With Honcho Agency, when did you start that?
So I guess when it started as a limited company 5 years ago, but it was still just me really as a freelancer. I'd after like getting all these opportunities from reputation, I was getting some good opportunities. Ended up working with like people in the music industry. UK Space Agency and some other names that are fairly reputable, but that's just by myself without marketing. and never had a business card, but I'd always had this kind of vision to have an agency, but making that leap from being a freelancer to what I had in my head of this agency just seems such a big jump. And I sort of dabbled with the idea of doing it, and I hired maybe a couple of freelancers every now and then to see how it would work if I wasn't doing all the work. And then I was out walking with my brother-in-law one day, and he runs a tech firm in the UK, in Nottingham, and I think he was at the beginning when it started up. And then now I think they're like 200. They've got to like 200 employees. So he's doing really well, and he sort of knows his stuff in terms of business and tech. And I remember saying to him, like, I want to do an agency, but I'm scared and I don't really know how to do it. And he just said, you're too young not to have a go at it. And that was kind of a bit of a light bulb moment for me, that I thought, okay, if I don't do it now, I'll probably never do it. And that was it. So like literally that would have been on a weekend, and the following Monday, I set my alarm 5 a.m. and I got up at 5 and started Googling, how do you build a design agency? And that led me to people like Gary Vaynerchuk, to Jason Swenk, I don't know if you've come across him, Donald Miller, who else? A guy called Spencer Gallagher, who's wrote an amazing book called Agency-nomics, which you should check out if you've got a design agency. And then it was just a process of up every day at 5 a.m. First 2 hours of the day was learning business. You know, I had the skills and I guess the intuition to make things look good and work well, but I didn't know how to run a business. So that first 12 months was working out the systems and processes. Well, first of all, working out that I needed systems and processes. You know, I didn't even know that was a concept. Then learning about marketing, and you know, it's still stuff that I'm still really interested in and still learning as I go along. So yeah, it took me about 12 months, I think, of learning to get to the point of hiring my first employee, who is Michael, and he's a developer. And I remember I'd hired him on a freelance basis for a couple of projects. We got on really well. I knew he was excellent. Part of what I learned in learning to run a business was or someone gave the advice of hiring better than yourself. So that was always kind of a decision that I wanted to hire someone who was better than me to take the business forward. So yeah, found this guy called Michael. I think we're on Slack. How would you fancy coming on board full time? And he's like, sure. So we met up, chatted through, you know, what the role would be, you know, money, commitment, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, within a few weeks, we were working together. He'd come on board, signed contracts, and he's been amazing. He's been absolutely amazing. He's a real developer's developer in terms of the stuff that we can do now. He's really raised the bar. So that by doing that then freed me up to work on the business more, to take those 2 hours in the morning to drag it further into the day, to work on the biz dev side of things, to really try and get my head around marketing. Marketing is something that I've always struggled with because of I think maybe because I'm a sort of natural introvert, that marketing and self-promotion doesn't come naturally to me. You know, when I watch you guys on Instagram doing your pre-vlog previews, they're just amazing because they're so natural, and it looks like you, not that you don't care, but you're so relaxed with the camera. It's like sometimes you can't even hear what you're saying because you're cocked up or the wind's blowing, but it's so human and so natural that it really works. Whereas I think me as a person, like a bit too conscious, care a bit too much about what people think. So therefore, marketing, like any idea that I have for marketing and being vocal about it, kind of like shut down. But it's something I'm getting better at. Hence I'm on here. You know. So yeah, that's kind of where we got to, and then hired number two in January, last month, who is a designer, and again hired better than what I am. And on day 2 of Ben starting the designer, we gave him a brief for a project that we're working on for the Church of England at the moment. And day two, he presented the designs to us, and I welled up. I was like, straight away, he has raised the bar of what we can output as an agency. So yeah, I was so pleased with getting Ben on board. Ben's an amazing designer who I've known for quite a while, and to get him in the team is just amazing. So yeah, if there's any advice you would take, anyone's going to take from this, would be to hire. If you're looking to hire, to hire better than yourself, so you can really let go, because that's something you've got to learn as a boss, that I'm learning as boss, is to let go and to let the people who know what they're really good at do what they're really good at, and kind of like be the dumbest person in the room, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's where I think we're at the moment.
How did you manage to kind of bridge the gap of finding clients before you got the full-time people? Thinking about the finances of preparing for that step up to both scale up the process, but you also have to pay to people.
Yeah, tricky. Yeah, so I again, as I was learning business, I got introduced to some accountants who were design agency specific accountants. They're called My Accountancy Place in Manchester. I'm sure they'd work with anyone in the UK, and they gave me the confidence in terms of the data that they were giving me. They gave me basically, pretty basic profit and loss spreadsheets, so I could see visually where we were in terms of incoming and outgoing money, and that just gave me confidence to know that we'd done X amount for the past 6 months, and kind of averaging that out going forward.
Do you mean yourself, or?
Pardon?
By we, do you mean yourself before you hired the 12?
Sorry. So me and a freelance. Yeah, I guess me and like freelancers. Yeah. So I could see what we were doing on a monthly basis, and kind of using that as a forecast is the proper word, isn't it? A forecast going forward, and that I guess it's always difficult. It's difficult, and it's only a prediction. It's only a forecast going forward when you know. But my accountant said to me that when you do hire that person, then it's a risk. But when you hire that person, they will free you up to be able to market more. And I think that's the trade-off that you're making. You're getting their hours. You're giving them your hours, so that you can then go out and get more work. So since taking on number 2, it's freed me up. All I'm really doing now is emails, meetings, marketing, biz dev, and probably a little bit of creative input as well, in terms of maybe like wireframing and the overall direction of the creative. But yeah, and it's working, and it is working straight away. The inquiries are up, opportunities are up, and it's giving me confidence that hire number 3 or number 4, whichever way, I'm not high, but you know what I mean. The next hire is becoming achievable sooner than I thought. Though I think the next hire that I'm going to go for is a project manager. I think because the time that I'm the rest of the time I am project manager, and that's what I want to get out of, to free me up to do the other stuff.
Do you find that it comes naturally for you to go and prospect for clients? Because business development is actually a very hard part for somebody who's dedicating their time on product and product development, or the creative part of the work, and it's actually can be very boring to just do all the emails and go and meet people. How was it for you?
Yeah, I've had to learn. I think I've had to learn how to do it. So yeah, in terms of sales and sales psychology, there's a guy called Dov Gordon who, again, in my when I was learning business stuff, came across, and he's got a fantastic manual and some videos that teach about sales psychology, which I'm very, very interested in and try to apply. I try and automate as much as I can. So there's the guys at Banff. I don't know if you've come across Banff yet. So they talk a lot about automation, sales processes, things like that, which We've not got running properly yet, but they're on the radar. And you know, in terms of client communication and emailing and opportunities, we're trying to get those going to so it's not so monotonous and so it's more efficient and that things don't slip through the cracks. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Go a little bit into detail of the automation. I'm quite curious how maybe what kind of processes or tools you're using to.
Okay. So let me see what have I got. So email wise, I installed actually a email checker today, an email opening checker today. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really good. So it tells you when, you know, your client or your prospect has opened their email. I use a plugin on Gmail called Boomerang. Don't know if you come across that one, which will you can set a schedule for the message to be returned if it's been answered. So in terms of keeping leads warm, that's really good. Or chasing invoices or just general, you know, general emails. That's really helpful. Use Mailshake quite a lot. So for larger mail outs, so a lot of our clients didn't have GDPR compliant forms. I don't know if you guys got hit with GDPR over in Amsterdam, but it was very painful. So a lot of their websites had to be updated to include checkboxes and cookie terms and conditions. So so I set up a campaign in Mailshake for that, which is it's basically an email sequencer. It doesn't use it doesn't use like a MailChimp or an Active Campaign type system. So you never get the click to unsubscribe thing along the bottom. I think it plugs into Gmail and sends from Gmail. So it looks like an authentic email, but you still have variables in it, so you can replace names and websites and all that stuff. And if the email's written well, it just looks like a normal email sent from a friendly agency owner, you know, which is great. But then you can set automatic replies and responses depending on their replies. So in terms of emailing maybe 50, 60 clients at once with the same email and trying to get a high response rate, Mailshake's amazing. What else do we use? Can't remember. That's sort of internal stuff. Dabbled with Zapier for some things. Need to get that more implemented. Need a better CRM system. That's on the list. I've got it written down somewhere on my list. But yeah, for marketing things as well, like looking at automation in terms of like lead gen for on LinkedIn. But yeah, not really got too far with that.
When you approach a new client, how do you decide who to approach? Actually, I'm curious.
So the one thing I learned really early on, and what I think you guys have done as well, is you know, going for that niche. So your niche is entrepreneurs, which is amazing. So you know who you're going after. With web design and what I've never gone after a specific sector. Clients have always come to me, so it's something that I've really struggled with. Though pretty much any like business coach or any, you know, previous agency owner who's done well and has released a book, you know, all that stuff, they say you've got to find your niche and go for it. And I find it really difficult. I find it really difficult to single one out and go for it. We've done a little test campaign with accountants, which did work really well. But it's kind of been put on ice. I think we still need to get the infrastructure right before we do a proper campaign. We do. I mean, we use one of our sort of angles that we have is we use a content management system called Craft CMS, which is a fantastic CMS for building websites on. It's it's similar to WordPress, but it's not WordPress at all. It's much more content agnostic. So we run AdWords for that. We've got a campaign idea for using tools such as Built With, which is a website which sees the technology on the site, and then we can do like a cold campaign to website owners who use Craft in terms of maybe updates and support on that. But no, there's a few sectors that we work in, but none that I would never want to exclude the others. But maybe I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it's a bad?
I don't think so. I mean, even we are, like you mentioned, yeah, it seems that we are focused on one niche, entrepreneurs, but to be honest, this is something that we're challenged and struggling and constantly reworking almost every day. Like, what do we want to say to whom? It's not so straightforward. 1 month we want to talk to entrepreneurs, then we find a slightly different side of how to look at that. It changes quite often. I mean, we're still putting also in our house in order, even after 2 years. Like, it takes a lot of time to put everything, to have everything right, as it's like textbook right. And we're still having a lot of loose ends to tie. And we just revamped, for example, our copy on our website, and today we had some more discussion, so we will change a little bit as well after a week, a few things.
Okay.
Very process.
It is, yeah, it is. It's difficult. In terms of copy, I learned a ton from a guy called Donald Miller. Have you come across him?
Yeah, the StoryBrand framework.
Yeah. Have you tried it?
We made the website by it.
Okay.
Was basically what we launched was based on that, and we're still working on.
Okay. How did you find it?
I found him from a recommendation for someone was recommending his podcast online on a
forum.
And then I listened to the podcast, and from there I checked the few episodes, got his like 5-minute website makeover sequence. That helped a lot, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I've got a book somewhere down there. There we go, that one. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. That was a real eye opener for me because I come from this, trying to make things look pretty in terms of design and design and functionality. It was all about the visual for me, and I never really got the marketing side of it, and I never. I don't know. In this book, it really clarified. Clarify your message. It really clarified to me about the psychology of people buying your product. And that's the other book actually that I've been reading, Agencynomics by two guys, Spencer Gallagher and Peter Poole, I think it is. But that's well worth checking out. It talks about if you're an agency owner. It talks about it goes into like facts, stats, and figures. From working with lots of agencies. It's a very, very good book, actually. But yeah, the marketing side of things. It's like when we build websites, we build websites and we try and make them. We try and find out what the business goals are. That's kind of as part of our process of working with another business. Try and work out what is the website for, what does it need to do. But having an understanding of marketing and what I've learned about marketing, it all comes into play. And there's so many overlapping elements of web design now. And it's not just the design and functionality, it's the copy, it's the social aspect of it, it's the inbound, it's the SEO, it's all these things, and there's so many overlapping elements. It's difficult to know sometimes as an agency, not only the niche, but where do you stop your services? Because you could keep going and going. If the website is the hub of all your brand, your marketing material, where do you draw your line? Because it always comes up in conversation. We do a great job with our client's website. Do you guys do social? Yeah, we can do. Or do you guys do brochures? Yeah, we can do. And it's difficult. It's a difficult decision to sort of say no.
It's a weird one for me because I think what we found out, because I don't think even though we make our living from making websites, I think we kind of left it for last. and we went kind of through the first year. Just we weren't converting on the website, but the conversions were made outside of the website, so people were just coming on the website to buy the item. And yeah, I think I'm not that convinced, that the conversion happens on the website.
Mm.
All three of us make our living from making websites. From what I found out, it's more of kind of the social game, the collaborations, like what image can you build outside of the website, and then make it as quick as possible just for people to go
Mm.
through the process. But that's what we found out the first year at least, and then now we're kind of stepping back a little bit and trying to improve the basics. So we'll see how that goes. But I guess when you have both in place, it's even better. But yeah, it's I mean, whatever works, I guess, for everyone.
Mm.
Very very different.
Quite interesting. When it comes to pricing models, I'm quite curious. We have a few listeners, I'm pretty sure, who have agencies, and we had a few guests who run agencies or agency services as well. I'm quite curious. How do you approach pricing? Do you go per project or on a retainer? What gives you more peace of mind to sleep sound at night as well? What are the pros and cons of the two models as well? Could be interesting
Yeah.
from your perspective.
Okay, so yeah, up to maybe 6 months ago, we'd only have done one-off project fees. Though retainers are more in the conversation now, and we're on several retainers now, which is great. So yeah, in terms of building and confidence going forward, yeah, I don't think you can beat the retainers, but maybe it's just our positioning so far. That we struggle to sell them, or maybe we're just not good at selling them to our existing clients and selling that value. But yeah, a goal for this year is to get some more retainers. So it's on my biz dev list of things to do, to try and just add more value, and sell the value, make it really clear why retaining is a good investment. Yeah. What about you guys? How does it work with your developments? I bet I should know this. Do you work for an agency, or are you freelancing, or what's like in your dev stuff?
Yeah, so we're both full time. I'm freelancing, but I'm still at a company 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's kind of like a full time position. But we have been thinking about maybe making a small agency just between the two of us, because we can cover quite a lot, from the development side of things. Design we double with as well, and then we can kind of go more towards the marketing and social stuff as well.
Yeah.
But it is something we're thinking about as well, because we're both. I mean, we work with Shopify quite a lot. And I think that the market for people opening up their stores is growing quite a lot, and especially in the Netherlands. So I think it could be a quite nice little niche that we're thinking about. But then, yeah, it's just balancing too many plates at the moment with the company on the side, full time job, and then we need to introduce a third aspect, which is finding clients for the agency.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've been thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Something interesting happens when you start an e-commerce business. I think I've learned more than 4 years in university, and after that, like, I studied marketing. So after that, I worked in marketing 2 years before I moved to development. But I think the knowledge you accumulate by just starting a project, and you can start with very little. You can start with I don't know, €1,000 for a year, and you can invest them, find a cheap product, try to sell it, try to create the marketing, try to build the brand around it. You learn so many things, and I think in the future, whether near or farther, it could be quite an interesting thing to try to do with us. Is like just go forward and offer consultancy agency or something like that.
Mm. Yeah.
Because the other thing that we're finding out is it's quite transferable. Like what we're doing on the side is both development for our own website and the whole business around it. And then once you go to the office, you're just doing a little part of it. But because of the whole experience of the whole process you have, you're much more valuable than just being the developer there. And yeah, some people appreciate it. Some people kind of just look for the role.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very good use case to have something on the side and then transfer that over to a full-time job, and then vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I find with clients now. It's because of my time that I've invested in learning more about business and marketing. I feel I can add more value in the conversations up front, or during the project, because of what I'm learning from my business. I can then transfer into their business as well and make their businesses better, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and you guys are working remotely, right? The three.
Yeah, so the three of us. I'm in Knutsford, which is just below Manchester. Michael, developer, is in Manchester Central, and then Ben, my designer, is in Lincoln, which is about 100 miles away. So yeah, we just every morning, 9:10, we use Daily, which is daily.co, just like it's very similar to Google Hangouts, and then Slack, and the occasional email. But yeah, hardly any email these days, just video and Slack. Yeah, it works well.
How are you managing? I guess how does a day look like? How often do you communicate? Do you feel the need to communicate live? Because something that we kind of think about a lot is not many companies, especially in Europe, I don't think they're quite flexible when it comes to creating a kind of a workplace that works for everyone as much as possible. So how are you thinking about running a team remotely?
Yeah, I mean, it works as a three. It works well at the moment, but I mean, the long-term goal is around 10, and I don't know how that will work then in terms of video calls and Slack. I really don't. I'm sure people do it, and I'm sure there's lots of cases out there. But what we do is we have a daily in the morning for about 20 minutes, half an hour, when we talk through 10 minutes of just banter and how's things, life things. And then maybe 20 minutes to run over what we worked, things like what we worked on yesterday, what was good, what was bad, what's going to happen today, is there anything anyone's waiting on from anyone. And then we have a channel in Slack called Weekly Overview, and I update that every morning. We use Teamwork as a project management tool, but I don't know if you ever come across Teamwork. It's just not. It's a great program for project management in terms of what it can do. But as a place and an environment to be in a lot, it's just not a nice looking. It's not a nice looking piece of software. It looks a little bit like an old, I don't know, Windows machine. It's like it just looks dated and it's quite slow. So to motivate the other guys, what I do is I go into Teamwork, sort all the projects out, and then basically create a daily overview in the Weekly Overview channel. And I'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and assign them what you're doing. I'll politely link to the Teamwork task in case they want to. Yeah, you are. They ignore it. Yeah, they do ignore it. And then so put link to the task. How many hours are remaining on the project? And that's it. And then they kind of tell me. They'll sort of say done that or whatever. I can check it. If they're working to the process properly, then they'll tag the task in Teamwork to review, so I can go in and review everything. That's a new process we implemented last week, which is basically means that they don't tick things off. They don't tick the tasks off. We need another set of eyes on it. So it's either myself or the other guy in the team that reviews someone else's work before it ever gets sent to the client. And yeah, that's kind of how we do it. And so yeah, in terms of, so there's a lot of trust. It's kind of like get on and do it. We use Harvest time tracking, so I can log in to Harvest and see what people are currently logging. Occasionally I'll put a shout out on Twitter, like what you're up to. But they're great guys. I got a good vibe from them, when I met them, and I trust them, and they're great. So yeah, I think it's building. If you're going to build a business, that thing is about having great people, and I think that's one thing that I've got right so far in business is the people. There's lots of other things I can get better, but yeah, the people are spot on.
Do you think process is important when you have a remote team like that, or do you rely more on the capabilities of the people around you? Let's say, do you care that much about when, what are they doing, as long as the work is great or very good at the end? Or do you want to have like all these little checks and balances in between as well?
I think it's somewhere in the middle of, I think we try and put processes in. I mean, like when I was first learning business, like one of the first things I learned was you need some systems and processes. And I was like, right, okay, up at 5 every morning, getting everything out of my head that I've had in my head for so long in terms of like registering domains, setting up servers, all that stuff. So I documented all these processes, and then we kind of discarded most of them, but we are still using some of them. We've got like master documents in Google Docs and spreadsheets, and we do use them. Maybe not as much as we should, but they definitely do get used, and they're helpful for things that maybe you forget how to do, like like checklists for adding SSLs to sites or something like that. We've got a process to go through to make sure it's set up right. But at the end of the week, we have a bit of a longer video chat, and we kind of talk about what's good and what's bad, and try and just make our processes better. They're fluid and they're open, and again, like what I said earlier, I trust their development and design skills more than my own, and if they think there's a better way to do something, I'll listen. I'll listen and maybe implement it. I'm the boss at the end of the day. I get to say yes or no, but I'm creating an environment where they can give their input and show their value in what they're really good at.
How do you go about getting new clients, or are you up to a point where you kind of have enough in the pipeline that you don't need to look for?
Sorry, getting new clients, is that? Yeah. So referrals is 70%, I think, and then Adwords works really well for us. We implemented that maybe a year ago. The ROI on Adwords has been amazing, and then current and repeat work from existing clients. That's probably it. Those three avenues.
What's behind the AdWords activation? Do you offer something? Do you take the traffic to a landing page, or do you just take them to your homepage?
Landing page, yeah. So we set up. I mentioned earlier we use a CMS called Craft, and we advertise for craft developers around those keywords, and yeah, it works really well. I think it's kind of getting to. It's still quite a new CMS, only 4 years maybe, but it's grown in popularity. It's got some really reputable people using it now. Can't think like Apple. I think Apple are using it. The Dalai Lama. Can't remember. There's lots of other people, but it's who? Sorry.
You only need those two using it.
There you go. Yeah. So people are now searching for it, and we've been using it for 2 or 3 years, and so yeah, that in itself is working really well, and I don't want to crank up the monthly spend any more than it is, because we couldn't handle the inquiries or the extra work at the moment. But as systems and processes get better, and I get better at being a boss, we'll crank it up and then get some more people on board, and spread our wings a little bit.
That leads us very nicely to kind of the future for you and for Honcho Agency. Where do you see yourself in, I don't know, half a year from now
on? Half a year, I think, doing what we're doing, but better and more efficiently and more profitable. A year's time, I'll have maybe 1, maybe 2 new people on board. So yeah, hopefully project manager, maybe, I don't know what the other role is, maybe copywriter / social. I don't know. We're getting a lot of that at the minute. But again, I don't know. I really need to work out where we end, where we focus and where we end in terms of services. Yeah, and kind of just, I mean, things that not keep coming up, but things that have come up recently are augmented reality stuff. A lot of chat about that. Obviously, voices being becoming more and more prominent, and I don't know how to implement that yet. E-commerce stuff is coming more on our radar. We've kind of shied away from it because of being such a small team. The only e-commerce projects that have come on our radar have been too big for us to manage in terms of weekend and evening support. I don't know how you guys would do it. Do you guys do e-commerce stuff like outside of DULO?
Yeah. We work with. I work with Shopify quite a lot. During the day.
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised with a team of 2 to 3 people how much you can do with Shopify.
Okay, but what I'm mainly concerned about is those 10 o'clock at night calls. Website's not working, payments not working, something's wrong with the website. Because I know it's not great, but on a brochure site, website goes down for a couple of hours one evening. It's not the end of the world, but if you're doing thousands of pounds in revenue a day or an hour, and you go down and we're not available to support that, how does that work? I don't know.
Well, the nice thing about Shopify is that it takes care of all the backend. So it takes care of all the database plus checkout plus all the e-com process. So you're basically just touching the front end and then pulling stuff on the backend.
Yeah.
But in theory, Shopify can't go down. It's been down for like 30 seconds for the last 3 years.
Oh right, okay.
And it's elastic, so it scales up. So let's say you have a Black Friday coming up, then Shopify, that infrastructure will scale up for your client instead of you having to worry about server load and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
So it's again, you can do a lot of stuff with 2 people on Shopify.
And their customer support is really excellent. They reply live. You can have somebody chatting or on the phone very quickly, almost immediately.
Okay.
They really put a lot of effort into making a platform that wants to rule everything in the whole experience, so make it super easy for people who have no idea what to do.
Okay.
But yeah, we're super happy with them. But yeah, big companies are using it as well. They have those different scales, different products for the bigger you become. So Shopify Plus and I don't know, Enterprise or something like that.
Okay.
Or more, but I think probably even better support and reliability.
Okay.
All right. Well, Matt, maybe you can mention a few places where people can find out more about you, check your work, and follow you online as well.
Yeah, cool. So our website is honcho.agency, and from there is an about page, and on there is a link to LinkedIn, maybe Twitter, and probably Instagram as well. And you can follow me on there if you want. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Matt. It was really a pleasure to chat with you that late evening. We're going to let you to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for getting in touch. I know all I did was like one of Ryan Carson's posts, and then within 20 minutes, I think you guys had got in touch. So thanks for asking me.
I'm the chief Twitter spy there here.
Chief Twitter officer.
I spend a lot of time there and like to connect to a lot of like-minded people. And Brian is we had him on the show as well.
I know, yeah.
He's one of our first customers actually. It's a really funny story, and we really like what he's doing as well. He was like one of our prototypal customers. He said, hey, he covers like all the points that we wanted to cover in our niche audience, if we say that. Just really, and also big fans of Treehouse because
same.
Allowed us to change like 180 degrees our life paths, I think.
Yeah, it allows us to work and self-fund the business. So if it wasn't for Treehouse and development in general, I don't think we'll be able to do what we're doing.
I think we should ask for sponsorship from Treehouse. It's not the first time we mentioned it.
Yeah.
Should ask.
Speak with Ryan about that.
Yeah. Okay, Matt.
Brill. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Let's have another part 2 sometime in the future to catch up again.
Love to, yeah. Love to. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Have a nice
Have
one.
a good evening.
Yeah, cheers.
Bye bye.